Hi, you guys. So I guess you guys have heard about the the riots in Israel, and I just happened across this, and I'm glad I found it because I saw it on the news this morning, and but I didn't get a chance to watch this particular segment. Two things to come to mind was one question I had was, is there going to be something here in the United States, or will we even make it that far? Because what's going on over there kind of looks like what would take place here in America as far as the protests. I know some were anticipating, Trump riots because he called for people to protest if he had been indicted in that his in-person visit got postponed. Okay, and it was kind of a flop anyway because the only few people that came out ahead of his appearance in court, there weren't any. I think a lot of people maybe learned from January 6th, but I made this video a few minutes ago, watching another video that I didn't realize until a few minutes in that it wasn't about this protest that came out yesterday. And but still, I will still want you to see it. In my last video, coincidentally, I was telling you about the few things that the Lord didn't like and some celebrations that took place both here in America and in Israel, that I don't feel like the Lord was pleased with. And these were things that He was showing me, along with Amos and Judgment and the generation of society, not only here and not only in Israel, but you can pretty much say all around the world, okay? Celebrations like Mardi Gras, Purim, the Indian celebration called Holi or Holi. I pronounced it as Holi. The Stonewall Bar being made a national landmark by President Obama. It was a LGBTQ bar that got stormed back in the day. And the liberalism and everything. And also there are a few things that happened at the same time. The Lord was showing me things that happened simultaneously in the United States and the U.S. that just pretty much coincided with each other. It's pretty interesting. I even, researched some things that went back to the foundation of the United States and in Israel, how the striking similarities, the wildfires. Bibi was being brought up on bribery charges while Trump was. They were trying to impeach Trump the first time, trying to impeach him the first time. Just a lot of similarities, okay, you guys? And they were happening simultaneously. But ultimately, the Lord was saying that the party was over, okay? And He just specifically was pointing out the two allies, the two countries together. Maybe because they're allies, okay? And definitely because Israel's the apple of God's eye. Let me show you this footage. This is the story from the protest that happened yesterday, and maybe I'll play 1 or 2 minutes of the video that I just watched. I might not have to once you see this, okay?
We're going to begin with the breaking news from Israel, with the deepening turmoil there over Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's move to limit the independence of the country's Supreme Court. Weeks and weeks of protests have led to this. You're looking at the scene outside the Israeli legislature. That's the Knesset in Jerusalem. And a new wave of protest erupted yesterday after the defense minister there was fired for calling for a delay in this plan until after Easter and Passover. This morning, labor unions called for a general strike, and the protests may have actually forced Netanyahu and his right-wing government to reconsider or at least consider a pause. Charlie D'Agata is following this story from London. Charlie, good morning.
Just pause. They are in mass protest over judicial reforms. He'll explain what that may mean over there, and I'm not going to say if it's right or not. But this is what they're protesting. Also, as far as the similarities and things happening, look at what I see on the news today. Watch. This is today at 7:30. I don't know what this is all about, but it appears to be in our state house. Bipartisan group calling for judicial reform. Attorney General, 18 sheriffs, and 10 solicitors. This is what the protests were about. Judicial reforms. The resistance to judicial reforms there in Israel, and how Benjamin Netanyahu wants to implement them. Like I said, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm sure there's more to the story than I can explain. But I just really thought that was interesting. I never intended for there to be some type of a link, and who knows what all that'll involve here in our state. I'll catch it on 11 o'clock news. Okay.
Good morning to you, Tony. Israel is bracing for further protests today, and the prime minister is facing the greatest threat yet to his coalition government. There are now reports that you mentioned he may halt that overhaul following a long night of nationwide demonstrations. Organizers called for a night of chaos, and demonstrators by the tens of thousands delivered. Protesters poured onto the streets of Tel Aviv, taking over the main highway, shouting, "Israel is not a dictatorship," blowing air horns, blocking traffic and burning tires. Riot police deployed water cannon, drenching the crowds.
It's not a matter of left or right. It's a matter of pure, basic human rights that are being crushed daily.
Protests also broke out in Jerusalem around the Israeli.
Look at that flag, y'all. Look at that flag. The LGBTQRS flag.
Legislative building and outside the home of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, shouting, "Shame, shame." The eruption came on the back of Netanyahu's firing of his defense minister for breaking ranks with the prime minister's hardline policies. The growing rift in our society is penetrating the Israeli Defense Force and security agencies, said Yoav Gallant. It poses a clear, immediate, and tangible threat to the security of the state. Critics have come down hard on Netanyahu's highly controversial plans to overhaul the judicial system. The proposals would see government control over the appointment of judges, including the Supreme Court, while restricting the court's rights to veto legislation or rule against the government. That's been met with weeks of anti-government protests and nationwide strikes. Unions have gone on strike, shutting down the universities and grounding flights out of Israel's main airport. Another mass demonstration has been called for this afternoon outside of Parliament. Tony?
And of course, if that.
Okay, guys, the video that I watched earlier is about 6 minutes. I think it's from ABC News, and I'm not going to play it just to keep this video short, but it does talk about, just like here, the left-right paradigm, the conservative people or ideals, and the liberal ideals. And, they've been protesting since Benjamin Netanyahu got into office. So these riots have been going on for a long time, but they just really exploded yesterday. The scenes are pretty similar to what we may have all seen here just yesterday, but they've been protesting this for a long time. Again, that video, I'm not going to play it, but I'll leave it below, and it'll show you. This time they're interviewing people on the ground, people that moved there, and they're talking about some things just as if you would see here from a left-right point of view, liberal, conservative point of view. But at this time, it really doesn't matter left, right, underneath, up. doesn't really matter. It's all going, I'm not going to say that. It's all just not, let's just say the mystery of iniquity already works. And it's just getting worse here in these last days. It's a pretty interesting video if you want to see the build up to these tensions that just exploded yesterday. It's making Israel look real vulnerable right now, and they just don't need that right now. Okay, you guys, especially with everything that's going on with the wars and rumors of wars, Iraq, so on and so forth. All right, talk with you later.